Between the ill-fated 2016 line that got cut in half and the relaunch of Masters of the Universe at retail with Origins in 2019, there was a whole switcheroo of companies making He-Man toys, and that's because Super 7 was given the chance to continue classics when Mattel said, we're not quite staffed up for this or have the resources. But Super 7 is the perfect place to be doing a line like this. Honestly, Mattel and Hasbro shouldn't be making high-end collector lines like Super 7's Ultimates. Because of the high overhead, because of the low production run, small toy companies are like tugboats or speedboats. They can move quickly. Large companies more like aircraft carriers. They can't really make decisions quickly and can't react quickly to changing trends, which is great that Super 7 continued the line. So let's look at the last few items they released following up last week's video or last episode. So the first of these being the Powercon 3-packs that were done with the folks at He-Man.org. I actually had nothing to do with these packs, but they were great. They had fan-demanded repaints, and this is where they should be. Not here. Releasing fan-demanded repaints at retail? As Vincini says, you've fallen for one of the classic blunders. There's another example, right? Doomsday at Mattel, released in normal and then in shiny red colors. Why shiny red? Well, because in the animated line, it made sense to do this, to do regular and then do a shiny red Doomsday, because in the animated series, there was a whole battle in a volcano where he looked like this. So, yes, it's like cell shading on speed, but it doesn't quite work for non-animated. It's a classic mistake to take a super fan demanded repaint, something that only appeals to super fans, and release it at retail. But Powercon and the He-Man.org guys and Super 7 were super smart, and they released this in a 3-pack at a convention. So that is Mini Comics Stratos, Mini Comic Trapjaw, and Mini Comic Prince Adam. Now with Trapjaw, my original plan was to make this a different character, call him Iron Jaw, which was going to be named after the Major Matt Mason character that Trapjaw was based on. Look at the eyebrows and the equipment. So, yeah, unfortunately he never shipped, but the designer reincorporated the concept into Masters of the Universe, which meant this figure would have been released as Iron Jaw. Oh well. Alright, next up was the next horse, which was Stridor, following up Mattel's Night Stalker. Luckily, they were able to get the tooling for this. I don't think they got all the tooling for Masters Classics. I think they got very select tooling. And you'll see originally in 2016 there were going to be 2 horses and 2 bulky warriors, Hans Hammerholder and Teskador, with Stridor and Night Stalker being the bookend. All right, so even though that was cut from Mattel's original lineup, Super 7 was able to finish the horses, if you will, and release Stridor using the Night Stalker pieces, and I think, a new helmet or new head piece, that's it. Awesome use of tooling. So glad that they got to this. All right, wrapping up their figures are 2 more Powercon packs, which again I had nothing to do with. Most of these figures I didn't. It was done by another company, but I'm going to review them anyway to wrap up this series. So both of these packs released in 2 different years. This was 18 and 19. The mini comic pack was 16 or 17? I can't remember. Go look it up, nerds. The point being is all these figures in these 2 packs were based on concept art for an 87 line that never shipped. Most of the art was in black and white. Well, all of it was, except for Strobo here, who we did make into a figure, and a big part of that, the reason Strobo of all of the figures from the 87 Kit Bashed line, for him to actually be released as a figure is, well, not just because he was very fan-demanded, but he actually appeared in full color in the UK magazine, as opposed to the rest of the characters in the 87 Kit Bash black and white art did not. Strobo even went on to appear in the animation in the Netflix show. Probably a big reason being he appeared in classics. So, yeah, all of these characters based on the black and white art, they were given original names, original colors, all with Kit Bash. It was all meant for Mattel in 87 to quickly get figures to market. So it's cool that the He-Man.org guys that run Powercon teamed up with Super 7 and even got out Army Builders by doing the Horde Trooper Snake Men mashup thingy, which again is from the black and white art. All of these were existing tooling that was meant to, again, help Mattel release a quick 87 line to market. The final thing in Super 7's catalog was, of course, then the William Stout collection. All right, so what this is, if you're not familiar, William Stout is this guy. I actually had lunch with both him and Gary Goddard during my time at Mattel. And, well, let's just say there was no lost love between William Stout and Mattel, which is why it took until Super 7 took over the line before he was willing to work with a toy company. There were some issues between him and Mattel. Let's just, surrounding the movie and how it was done, which is a big reason that Warner Brothers owning the movie, that Mattel couldn't make these figures. In fact, Super 7 can't make figures based on the movie, but they're based on William Stout's artwork, is what we're looking at. So that's why it's called the William Stout collection. All of the figures are based on his concept art, not directly on the movie, which is owned by Warner Brothers. He even did concept art for She-Ra that never made it into the movie. Pretty cool. So yeah, this was our best shot at getting movie figures at the time, because it wasn't Mattel making them, and it wasn't licensed from Warner. It was an interesting workaround, shall we say, by licensing the concept art from an artist who was willing to work with a company that wasn't Mattel. All right, I know I said that was the last thing, but we do need to talk about Snake Mountain, the gigantic, huge, awesome Classics playset. So this was a playset that was heavily, heavily developed at Mattel by the team that I worked on, but it was never released. It was never brought up to release, fruition. But that, again, like the 2016 line, was with it being halved and so much being cut, Snake Mountain was also one of the things cut from development. If you want to see what we did do, I did a whole video on this. I'll link it at the end. Kind of what, when Mattel was working on Snake Mountain, there was going to be more electronics and a speaker system. Anyway, Bluetooth. But with the sculpt done at Mattel, it was passed over to Super 7 during the pandemic, and they finished it up and released it using fan funding, which was awesome. And, I think it came out great. I don't own it. I will admit. I don't own it simply because I don't have any place to put it. Maybe when I get a bigger office, I'll buy one off the secondary market. I've kind of always felt like I should get one. But, they had to shrink it down a little bit from how big the original sculpt was. But I think they made the right choice, because you don't want a playset to be bigger than the child who is playing with it, or the collector in this case. Let's be realistic. It's a diorama. It's sitting in all of our offices. But hey, it's great. They even got the bone chair in. Disappointed we didn't get the Filmation tunnel portal that we were going to do. But otherwise, Snake Mountain from Super 7. I highly recommend it. It's pretty cool.